Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 3 of Double the Tea with your hosts, Trenton
and Trinity.
We are obviously, once again, so excited to be here for our 3rd episode. Thank you guys so much for all the love you've been giving us on our last 2 episodes.
It honestly has been overwhelming. I have gotten texts. I have gotten people who have said that they love it. They want more. They want us to continue. Please don't ever stop this. So thank you so much to those of you who have reached out and who have left reviews and done all of that kind of stuff.
We love suggestions, so if you guys want a particular story to be talked about, just let us know and we'll be glad to put that in. So me and Trinity, we just found out today that we'll be going to a book signing this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
One of her favorite authors, Mia Sheridan, she'll be talking about her later on in the book segment.
I definitely will.
But she is so excited. I am so excited. I've never been to a book signing, so this is going to be my very first one.
You're in for a wild ride, babe.
I'm really excited. Trinity actually last night got a spooky basket from me.
I did. I got home at almost 11, and I walked up to my porch and I was like, what is on my porch? And it was a cute little spooky basket from Trenton. It made me so happy.
I literally had just thought about it the other day and I was like, okay, I'm going to get her a spooky basket, and I just got her favorite treats and then some Halloween stuff, and we have matching glass water bottles now, and so I'm really excited about that.
It makes me so happy.
So diving into our songs of the week, this week I have another Doja Cat song, Agra Hills, I believe it is pronounced, Agora. I'm sorry guys, I literally don't know. Obviously it's probably the most popular song off of the Scarlet album, but it does have a really nice beat. People are going to consider that one a TikTok song because it's really popular on TikTok right now. But I happen to be drawn to the more popular songs because I think sometimes that they're the best ones. Not always, but a lot of the time. My second song of the week comes from Chapel Rowan once again, from her Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess album. It is Coffee. It's basically just about, well, the lyrics are I'll meet you for coffee, because if we have wine, it's basically just saying, we better not even meet for coffee because you only want me when we have wine, type thing. It's a really, it's a good message.
I might need to look into this one.
You do. And then my last song of the week comes from Olivia Rodrigo's Guts album. It is Lacey. It is one of the most underrated songs on the album, but it is one of the best songs. It's been said that the song could either be about Sabrina Carpenter or Gracie Abrams. I would more lean towards Sabrina Carpenter, but that's not for me to say, really. It's just up for interpretation, I guess, like most things we talk about on this podcast.
Honestly.
So next, Trinity will be diving into her songs of the week.
Okay, so do not kill me, but all of my songs of the week are old songs that are nowhere near new. Me and Trent are kind of opposites when it comes to that. So my first song is called You're the Reason Our Kids Are Ugly. I've had it on repeat this week. It's by Loretta Lynn and Conway Twitty. And it's just a funny little song, and I think it's hilarious. And I also think that all of their duets are amazing. If you ever need some classic country to listen to, Conway and Loretta, top notch. Very much top notch. For me, they are very close to Johnny and June, which is saying a lot if you know me. And then my other 2 are Elvis songs. One of them is I Slipped, I Stumbled, I Fell, and that one just has a good beat, and it's just really nice. I don't know. I like it. I like how it sounds. I like the fact that it kind of makes you want to move. It's just, And then I have a little bit more serious one. It is another Elvis song, and it's called Please Don't Stop Loving Me. And I rediscovered it. It's from the movie Frankie and Johnny. I rediscovered it recently. I had known it, but I hadn't really known it. And then I rewatched Frankie and Johnny, and I love the song. It has been on repeat, especially when I'm reading this week. So, yeah, those are my songs of the week.
Speaking of Elvis, the official trailer for Priscilla the movie just came out yesterday. Trinity has various opinions on this, some of which are very hot takes. So she's going to kind of delve into that before we get started into the pop culture segment.
Let's just get into this. So everybody who knows me, and I've said it before on this podcast, I absolutely adore Elvis Presley. Was he probably the best man in the entire world? Did he do the best things all the time? No, he did not. Do I love him anyways? Yes, I do. Have since I was 2. But anyway, Austin Butler did such a good job on the Elvis movie that seeing somebody like Jacob Elordi come in, doesn't have the looks, doesn't have the voice, didn't really even try. The outfits look like they are Halloween costumes sometimes. Like, I feel like they ordered Halloween costumes from online and used them for their costumes.
Lisa Marie's birth, that, like, their outfits like, for that were terrible.
And then the fact that, like, everything that I have seen so far paints Elvis out to be the villain. Was he the greatest guy in the entire world? No. Was he innocent? No. But he never really claimed to be.
And there were also things that we've seen Priscilla do, or we've heard that it's not like she's the best person in the world either.
And the thing is, with Priscilla, my other massive complaint about this movie and this trailer and everything like that is the book that they are basing it off of is called Elvis and Me. And it was written by Priscilla Beaulieu Presley. Let's pause for a second and look at Priscilla, just for 2 seconds, I promise. She changed her name to Presley when she married Elvis, and then changed her name back to her maiden name, which was Beaulieu. And then after Elvis died, she changed her name back to Presley so that she was Priscilla Presley again. So that's a little sketchy to me. But also moving forward with all of it, and the movie itself, it's based off of Elvis and Me, and she already had a movie come out, like 20 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, we talked about this a little.
It was in like the 90s, I want to say, 80s or 90s.
Talked a little bit about this last week.
And it already came out, and now she's redoing it, but instead of it being called Elvis and Me, and at least being a nod to Elvis and all this different stuff, it's called Priscilla, which, to me, why do you need more of your name out there? You already kind of put your hand in everything that has to do with Elvis, which I get to some extent she has to keep his name alive, but she doesn't have to have her name in as big of a stick as he does.
Also, like you said, how she had changed her name back.
Yes.
After. It was kind of like she just wanted to have a reason to be tied to him so she could get first say and everything.
Oh, yeah. And he was engaged to be married to another woman when he died. He was engaged to Ginger Alden.
I didn't know that.
And when he died, Ginger, from what I heard, I mean, I think she got something, but Graceland was left to Priscilla. Elvis left Graceland to Scylla, and then Scylla left it to Lisa Marie when she died. And then Lisa Marie died before Priscilla, and she fought her own granddaughter. There was a whole fight over who got Graceland, and if Priscilla could be buried, and literally have one of Elvis's family members dug up to have her buried next to Elvis. Like, I could go on about this for hours. I'm gonna I'm gonna rein myself in here and just kind of end this by saying the Priscilla movie, yes, I will go see it. Yes, I will give you my honest review after I see it.
We'll do a whole segment on it.
If it genuinely surprises me and it is actually a decent movie, then I will let you guys know. But as of right now, it seems like they're playing Elvis out to be the villain. And Priscilla, yes, she was 14 when they met, and he was 10 years older than her. But, like, at the same time, that happened a lot more back then. So they're making her seem like this innocent little, didn't know anything. And Elvis was this terrible person. And in reality, it's far from the truth. Trust me, I have been studying this man since I was 2. No, I've been listening to him since I was 2. I've been looking into facts about him since I was in, like, elementary school, though. So, that's my whole spiel about the Priscilla movie.
Trinity knows more about Elvis and Priscilla and Lisa Marie than I think anybody in the world knows. she will have to do a whole segment on that in another episode. Even though we've touched so much on it already.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, though. This is not even this is like the teeniest, tiniest tip of the iceberg. We could keep going for days.
So, into the pop culture segment for this week, I kind of touched on this in the very first episode, talking about Beyonce's Renaissance tour, getting about $5 million. It turns out it is the highest grossing female tour. And she is releasing a Renaissance movie in theaters December. Kind of, I guess, copying after Taylor.
Which, mind you not, we get to go see Taylor next week.
Just to cut 9 days. Say. Well, when you guys see this, it'll actually be October 11th. Happy birthday, Mom. Love you. But yes, so I'm still going to go see that. I'm excited for that. And kudos to her because, as I said before, she's killing it. She's doing amazing. And these female stars, it's my favorite thing in the world. I love them. I think women do it best every time, no matter what. Only Murders in the Building, starring Selena Gomez, just got renewed for season 4. I actually didn't pay much attention to the previous seasons, but I know there are a lot of people who like the show. So I'm definitely going to have to get into that because I do like a good mystery.
I've heard little things about it, and I've seen little, like, clips pop up on my, like, For You page on TikTok sometimes. So, like, I've heard some. But I didn't know they got another season. Is that that's the one with Steve Martin and Martin Short?
And Meryl Streep.
Okay, and Meryl. I didn't know Meryl was in it.
Yeah, she is. I don't think she was in the first season.
Okay.
But she was in the second or third.
I just knew about Steve Martin and Martin Short. Oh my god, I love Steve Martin. Sorry. Continue.
And our main focus for the pop culture segment today, Miss Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Ooh.
Some of you guys may know of Gypsy Rose. She is set to be released from prison on December 28th, 2023. And on that date, she will have served 85% of her full sentence. So for those of you who don't know, her mom, Dee Dee, was found dead in June of 2015, and shortly after that, Gypsy and Gypsy's boyfriend, Nick, were charged with first-degree murder. So Dee Dee actually fabricated Gypsy's medical issues, making Gypsy a victim of Munchausen by proxy syndrome. That is a rare form of abuse in which a guardian exaggerates or induces illness in a child. Dee Dee convinced her friends and family that Gypsy suffered from muscular dystrophy, leukemia, and other ailments. They made a one-season show about it titled The Act in 2019, and it stars Joey King as Gypsy and Patricia Arquette as Dee Dee. Patricia actually won a Primetime Emmy for an Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Limited or Anthology Series, as well as a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in a Series. So, it's all really crazy. People have many mixed opinions on this because, yes, Gypsy also had went on to say, like, she does deserve to be in prison for a short amount of time, and we're not condoning anything that. But, like, it's just the circumstances, like, of what her mom did. It's just completely not okay.
I feel like it would make any sane person go crazy enough to do that.
Like, that's all we're gonna say on that.
I can't.
It's just, we don't even want to get into that, because it's crazy, and
the amount of just things that were so wrong with that whole situation.
And if you guys have seen anything about the act, like, it's actually so sad. I've seen so many clips as well on TikTok. Yes.
Me too.
But yeah, definitely check that out. And that's all I have for pop culture today. So Trinity will be diving into the book segment. Oof. She has 2 books to talk about by Mia Sheridan that are part of a series, I believe.
And then there's some other ones that are part of a different series that if I get to it, I get to it. We'll see. So I want to start off by saying Mia Sheridan. Let's just stop for a second. I met her at a book signing. And it was absolutely incredible. It was so fun. We got there early and like spent the entire time that we were there. Like after we got out of the line and everything and sat down, the signing went on for another 2 hours after that, hour and a half, 2 hours. And she didn't stop signing books until there was no line, which to some people may sound like, that's what you're supposed to do. But some authors will cut it at their time. Like if they are doing a signing from 2 to 4, they will stop at 4. And she was still signing books at like 4:30. But anyway, we spent the entire time that we were waiting for, in line after we were done and we were waiting for the rest of the people to be done getting their books signed and chatting with Mia, talking to her husband. And he is the sweetest too. They are both so sweet, so nice. So shout out to both of you. And he was telling us all this stuff about books and movies and scripts and stuff that could be made and all this different stuff, and we were like, oh my gosh. And she even had to lean over a couple times and be like, I need to watch what he's saying, because like some of it he probably shouldn't be saying. Let's reel it back in. It was so much fun. And then I met her again at a second book signing out in Beaver Creek, Ohio, and she remembered my name and she remembered me, and she was so sweet. And now there's another book signing on Saturday that I just found out about, and I'm taking Trenton with me because, well, why not? And I'm going to meet Mia again and get the couple books that I don't already have signed by her signed, and I'm so excited. But let's dive into her books for a minute. So Archer's Voice is one of the first books, if not the first book. I think it was the first one that I decided to write in and tab and do the full annotation system. That is how much I love this book. Like, this is part of the Signs of Love series, I believe it's called. And this is about Archer Hill, he basically, some stuff happened when he was a kid. I don't want to give too much away, but he had to live with his uncle, and his uncle was kind of a shut-in, so he was a shut-in, and so he can't talk either. He's mute, so he can't speak. Nobody can speak with, like, he can't speak to anybody. He can hear you and everything, don't get me wrong, but like, so he's had a rough life. He's had it rough. He has a cousin who helped make fun of him and bully him and get these kids to make fun of him. So now that he is, an adult, and, we fast forward in the future, you have Bree, who comes into town and is new in town. She's running away from something that happened, and she gets to the town of Pellion, Maine, and she gets there and runs into Archer, and everybody's like, oh, no, stay away from Archer. Like, he's a shut-in, you don't want to be near him. And Bree's like, but why? So she ends up forming a bond with Archer and starts stopping by, figures out that he knows sign language. She knows sign language because her dad was deaf. So that's how they communicate, because he taught himself sign language. He teaches himself everything he might need to know from books. And they form this relationship. But I will tell you, you will get halfway through this book and you will want to send me a message telling me, like, I can't continue this, because I was buddy reading it with one of my friends, and she called me and she was like, I can't keep reading this. I'm so mad. I want to cry. I'm already about to cry. I can't do this. And I'm like, girl, I'm not there yet. Give me a minute. And then I got there and I cried. So if that tells you anything about how much this book had an effect on me, that should tell you something. I want to tell you some of my, a couple of my favorite quotes from this book that I don't think will ruin any of the storyline for you. So I don't think that hearing any of these quotes will ruin anything for you. I don't think that it will, affect your experience reading Archer's Voice. So one of my favorite quotes from this book, which, mind you not, when I had Mia sign my book, I had her write this quote in the front of my book. And it's inside, it was my deepest hope that my love would be enough to heal his wounded heart. And that had me sobbing, because if you read the book, you would get it. And then also, sometimes an understanding silence was better than a bunch of meaningless words, which is so true. And then you also have the quote of, "It suddenly occurred to me that Archer Hale had taught himself an entire language and hadn't had anyone to talk to until me." So this guy went his entire life, up until Bree, without anyone to talk to. He had no one to talk to the whole time. And then, you know me, I have to talk about some of my favorite scenes from the book too. And I thought it was just, oh my gosh. So first of all, Bree really likes her favorite potato chips are the ones that are like curled over on themselves. So Archer goes through an entire bag of potato chips and picks out all of the curled over ones for Bree. Oh my gosh. Like, in love. And then she hates thunderstorms. So Archer at one point walks in the rain, because at this point he doesn't have a car or know how to drive. So he walks in the rain, pouring rain, to her door, and she's mad at him. I'm not gonna say why, I can't say why, because you'll figure it out if you read the book. Walks to her door in the rain, and she hears something on her porch, so she goes to look, and when she opens the door, she's like, "You are freezing, like, your lips are turning purple." And he's like, I came here for you. And I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And so even though she's mad at him, and he knows, he still came. And he said, "I figured even if I came, and even if I just sat out here, you would be less scared. You wouldn't be scared because you wouldn't be alone." So I love Archer. Everything that this man does is just, oh my god. Like, as you read this book, please read this book. As you read this book, you will learn Archer Hale is like a superior book boyfriend. Honestly, he is so superior. Now, I want to move on a little bit to the second book in the Pelion Lake series, which is Travis. And Travis is Archer's cousin. Yeah, it's his family member, his cousin. I'm not saying that because I don't know what relation he is. Read the book, you'll find out why I say it that way. But I read, he gets his own book. Travis, who, in the first book, in Archer's voice, I had something against this man, and I still do. Okay? The things that he did in the first book, and then he gets his own book, and I was like, why are we giving the character that I hate a book? And he got a book, and he actually had some redeeming qualities. I think he redeemed himself for the most part. But the thing is, then he would do something that was Travis-like, and I would be like, oh, I had it for a minute. For a minute, you made me forget who you are. And for a minute, I was starting to fall for you too. And then you said something Travis-like. But this is about Travis Hale, who is a cop in Pelion, Maine. His mom, at one point, owned a lot of the town, and then some stuff came out. It was a whole thing. And there is this new guy in town who sleeps with Travis's girlfriend, who he was about to propose to. So, like, Travis is about to propose to this woman, and then he catches her in bed with another guy. How crazy. And so in the midst of all of that, basically, Travis is mad, of course. He ends up, staying at a local motel because this place is flooded. And he meets Bree, who they kind of start a no strings attached type deal, but it doesn't stay no strings attached. Let's be honest. Does it ever stay no strings attached? No. So there's that. They kind of try that. And it is a cute love story, don't get me wrong. And if I didn't know all of the things about Travis that I knew going into this book, honestly, I probably would like Travis. But I still hold a grudge against the man, and I don't even really feel bad about it because of what he did. But I will also say, you get some snippets of Bree and Archer in this book, and those alone were worth it for me. I almost cried reading this because I was like, oh my god, it's them, it's them, it's them. So, if that tells you anything, then, you know. And it's come out that there's going to be a third book in the Pelion Lake series, and it is going to be called, I think it's Falling for Gage. And Gage is a character who was a side character in both of the first Pelion Lake books, and he didn't get his happily ever after either time. So now Mia Sheridan has decided to give him his happily ever after. And I do need to, like, brag on myself just a little bit here. The last book signing, the first book signing that I went to with Mia, and I saw Mia and her husband, her husband was telling us about the fact that there was going to be another Pelion Lake book. And he was like, there's a book, and it's based off of a guy from the Archer series and the Travis, and it's and we were like, wait a minute. And me and my friend were trying to guess, and I was like, would it be Gage Buchanan? And he was like, I don't remember exactly. And I was like, no, give it to me. Who was it? And he was like, he said, I read so many of her books that I can't think of who it was off the top of my head. And I was like, that or you're just not telling me because you don't want me to know. And he goes, you'll just have to wait and find out. And I was like, that's exactly how I know that you're just not telling me. So we love Mia and her husband, but like me and my friend predicted the fact that it was going to be about Gage. And then now that the book about Gage has come out, I texted Trenton and I was like, oh my god, you will not believe this. And I explained the whole situation, and it was so cool. It was so fun. Talking about other Mia books, I am currently reading Kyland by Mia Sheridan, and I'm annotating that one too, and I am loving it. Kyland is amazing. It's about these two high schoolers who grow up in a mining town, and they're both trying to get this scholarship to get out, but like they don't really want to admit they like each other, but like they do like each other, and it's just so cute. And coincidentally, that happened, the one that I'm reading right now happens to be Mia's husband's favorite book. I forget what Mia said her favorite was, but I remember her husband saying that because we had like a 20-minute long discussion about Kyland and the fact that I hadn't read it yet. And he was like, oh, you need to go pick it up and read it. And then he realized that like it had just come out and like we were starting to read it. It was a whole thing. But I also want to touch on Leo and Leo's Chance, which are two really great Mia Sheridan books. I will say that this was back when she first started writing, so her writing has improved since then. She will even tell you that, because when I said something to her about I've already read Leo and Leo's Chance, and she was like, oh, those are on the list for the getting, republished and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh. But these are about two kids who were in the foster care system, and one of them eventually got placed in a foster home that was very far away. And so they basically made a promise to each other to meet back when they were, I think it was 18, and he never showed. And so she was wondering why he never showed. And this guy showed up and started following her, and she ended up cornering him and saying, like, why are you following me? And he was like, I'm a friend of Leo's. And the thing is, him saying, like, I am a friend of Leo's, and I was like, no. His name's Jake, and it's such a good book series, but like it also was slightly predictable in the way of like a third of the way through, I knew what was going to happen at the end, or partly knew. I didn't fully know, but I kind of knew. And then you get to Leo's chance, and you get to hear his side of things and what happened, and it just makes it all come full circle. It's amazing. And then I just have to say, I have a whole shelf of Mia Sheridan books. I have duplicates of some books because I wanted some of them signed without having my annotations in them. Don't make fun of me, but I have multiple copies of books sometimes just because of different covers or different editions, or we'll call myself a book collector just so I don't sound like I'm hoarding books. It sounds better, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So you have that going on, and also let's move a little bit away from Mia Sheridan, because like I could talk about Mia Sheridan for a long time. But definitely go check out Mia's books. She just released 2 new books. I have Grayson's Vow and I have Stinger, but there's 2 new ones that just came out that we will be getting at the book signing event. I think we get both. Like, we can buy both. We get access to buy both. And I'm so excited. And I can't. One of them is about Calder and Eden. I think it's Becoming Calder and Finding Eden, if I remember correctly. I'm so excited to have more Mia books on my shelf. Love her so much. So much. But anyway, moving forward just like slightly, I got a request to, I want to talk about my current reads right now. For a moment. I got a request from
my lovely cousin.
Yes, Trenton's lovely cousin. If you're listening to this.
Hello, if you're listening. I love you.
If you're listening to this, girl, what did you get me into, first of all? Because I've been meaning to read this book, but like it's just kind of been sitting on my shelf. I started it once, but the fact that the first like few lines of this book were just, I'm not going to read books often on here. Well, that's a lie. But anyway, is I grew up sick. Let me clarify. I grew up believing that real love stories include a martyr or demand great sacrifice to be worthy. My favorite books, love songs, movies, the ones that resonated with me, have kept me grieving long after I turned the last page, the notes faded out, or the credits rolled. Because of that, I believed it, because I made myself believe it, and I bred the most masochistic of romantic hearts, which resulted in my illness. Okay, just starting that makes me like, what am I getting myself into? So I have that, and I'm reading that currently, and I am at chapter 23, so I just finished chapter 22, and I know what chapter 25 is, because everybody on TikTok is like, wait till you get to chapter 25. I don't know what it is, but for a brief little summary, I don't even know if I can read the back of this, because like, it doesn't really tell you anything, so I'm going to give you the back, because it doesn't tell you anything, and it leaves the mystery and will make you want to read it. Please read it so I have somebody to talk to about this. Like, if you read it, message me.
Yeah, I need to read it. I need to read more things that she tells me to read.
You do!
I don't listen.
You do! You don't listen, and then when I tell you about it, you're like, this sounds good, and then you don't read it.
She's so right.
Okay, so it says, can you keep a secret? Okay, I grew up sick. Let me clarify. I grew up believing that real love stories include a martyr or demand great sacrifice to be worthy. So it starts the same way as the back is kind of written. But because of that, I believed it. Because I made myself believe it, and I bred the most masochistic of romantic hearts, which resulted in my illness. When I lived this story, my own twisted fairy tale, it was unbeknownst to me at the time because I was young and naive. I gave into temptation and fed the beating beast, which grew thirstier with every slash, every strike, every blow. Triple Falls wasn't at all what it seemed, nor were the men that swept me under their wing. But in order to keep them, I had to be in on their secrets. Secrets that cost us everything to keep. That's the novelty of fiction versus reality. You can't relive your own love story because by the time you've realized you're living it, it's over. At least that was the case for me and the men I trusted my foolish heart to. Looking back, I'm convinced I willed my story into existence during my illness, and all were punished. What? So that just has me like, excuse you. I started this book. Let me clarify. I started this book yesterday.
Literally yesterday or
and I am 176 pages in, and I cannot put it down, and I plan to finish it tonight before I go to bed, fingers crossed. The other book that I'm currently reading, well, I'm reading a lot, but the main other book that I'm reading is Red, White, and Royal Blue, if I can talk. And that one is about the president's son who falls in love with the Prince of England. And oh my gosh. By the way, thank you to Jess. Jess, I don't think will mind if I shout her out on here. So thank you to Jess for recommending to me that I read this book. Because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
She's obsessed. She'll have to do a whole segment on that.
I have to because
and watches the movie.
Yes, because also shout out to Jess, who when I get done with the book, we are watching the movie together. And then I also need to slide in here really quickly, book wise. I need to ask, would anyone be interested? It's probably going to happen anyway. The Addicted / Calloway Sister series, if I did a segment on just that series, I'm on book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the series. Sorry, I had to count them on my shelf. I'm on book 6, which is Thrive. So I want to possibly do a book or a segment about that. And then also jumping back to Elvis a little bit, but not fully. I did get a book called Baby Let's Play House, which is about the women of Elvis's life. I'm so excited. One of my friends told me to buy it.
I'm so excited. She's already told me a little bit about it, and I literally can't wait for her to get it.
Yeah, one of my friends told me to buy it, and I own it.
I bet that's the package that just came.
Oh no, it's already here. The package that just came is something for my classroom.
I'll shut up.
You're good. I ordered another book, but it was for my classroom. Don't worry. And then anyway, the last thing I want to say is if you don't know what fan fiction is or what AO3 is, you are sorely missing out. AO3 is Archive of Our Own, and I have been reading some Elvis fan fiction lately, and Trenton has heard about all of it, and I somewhat feel bad, but I also don't, because, like, everyone needs some Elvis fan fiction in their life. If you want the name of the fanfic I'm reading right now, send me like a quick little message on like Instagram or Snapchat or, you know, whatever, because our Instagrams are in the Double the T bio. So send me a quick little message on Instagram and I'll tell you what it is. I just don't feel like publicly saying the name of the fanfic I'm reading, but it's good. Anyway, that is it for me for the book segment. Flock will be most likely what I talk about next week, and I'm hoping to finish the other 2 books in the series before next week too. So let's hope that I'm talking about the entire Ravenhood trilogy and that I'm in the middle of One Last Rainy Day, which is like the last book in the Ravenhood series. So let's hope. Fingers crossed. This weekend's going to be a lot of reading.
Trinity, I love hearing her talk and be so passionate about books, because I do know that she could go on for hours about really books. Good. Like, sometimes I struggle to even find, like, the words to a topic that I'm talking about, and Trinity could literally talk 4 hours.
This is because I started talking when I was, like, a few months old, and I haven't stopped since, and books, I could ramble on about hours. I'm just rambling. It's nonsense. But somehow people enjoy listening to it, so I keep doing it.
So into our true crime segment for today. If we have time, I might be telling 2 true crime stories today, but I'm probably just going to get to the one and save the next one for next week. So this true crime story is titled Beverly Jaros's Murder. 50 years later, getting new attention. So this story comes to us from Cleveland, Ohio. It says, the trail went cold less than 2 days after the murder. In a quote, it says, we're no nearer a solution now than we were when the body was found, a detective said. For all I know, we're farther away from one. A public appeal brought tips by the thousands, by phone, by mail, and in person. All of them, a reporter wrote, led police down paths paved with hope that turn into labyrinths of frustration. Now, 50 years later, as her family and friends prepare to remember the life of Beverly Jaros, investigators still believe her murder can be solved. Wary of false hope, they bring fresh perspective and modern technology to old evidence in a case they see as sort of calling. as a sort of calling. I'm so sorry, guys. Absolutely, there's a possibility it can be solved, said veteran assistant County Prosecutor Paul Miles, who has been working with the office's cold case unit in Garfield Heights Police. We are taking steps to make that end possible. We haven't stopped. Beverly would be 66 if she had lived. The person who will be remembered in a private anniversary mass at St. Therese on Sunday. The church which she was buried is locked in time at 16. She was a popular, attractive junior at Marymount High School, a Catholic girls' school, now co-ed Trinity High, in Garfield Heights. She wrote poetry, liked Garfield Heights School, music and jazz club, frequented the Cleveland Museum of Art, talked about becoming a teacher, and volunteered as a typist in the office at Marymount Hospital. Her murder, still difficult to discuss for those close to her, made front-page news for months. It happened in the middle of a bright and snowless day in the snug bedroom of a post-war bungalow on a residential suburban street, matching countless others around Greater Cleveland. Not a random crime of opportunity. It was an act of rage so specifically planned and targeted that the author and filmmaker pursuing the case call it an assassination. The timing was unbelievable, Miles said. There's a 90-second window here. This murderer was the luckiest, I guess you'd say, SOB in the world. 90 seconds, and this never happens. An act of evil. It happened December 28th, 1964, the day after the Cleveland Browns' last NFL championship on the quiet Monday after Christmas. Beverly and her 12-year-old sister Carol, who shared a bedroom in the house on Thornton Avenue in Garfield Heights, were home on Christmas break. They ate breakfast and saw their parents, Ted and Eleanor, off to work. They walked to visit their grandmother, Marie, a mile away up Turney Road, and stayed for lunch. The boy next door to their grandmother drove Beverly home to meet her friend Barbara, a classmate at Marymount. The girls planned to visit another classmate, Margie. Home before 1 p.m., Beverly called her mother to check in. She wrote a message to her father from someone who said he'd call back, leaving a name that turned out to be phony. Grandma Marie called, and Beverly said she had to go. She was expecting Barb and had to change. Barbara arrived at about 1:25. She found the side door open, but the storm door locked. She rang the bell and knocked, heard a radio playing loudly, and then a loud thump upstairs, like furniture being moved. She went to the front door, rang the bell, knocked, and waited a few minutes. Puzzled, wondering if she was being stood up or teased, she headed home. Margie called her there, asking where she and Beverly were. Then Margie called Grandma Marie, who called Ted Jaros at work. He raced home about 4 p.m., hearing the radio blaring from the driveway. He dashed into the house and up the stairs. The police arrived next, and a priest. The knowledge of what they found followed Paul Miles on his first visit to the house, almost half a century later. I've been to Auschwitz. That was always my gauge of the spookiest place in the world, he said. At Auschwitz, you just get this feeling of evil. I got to the side door of the house, and whoa, you just felt evil. You knew something happened there. I've been to thousands of crime scenes. Never bothered me. But this, you just knew, was evil. Garfield Heights Police Captain William Horrigan, who became the lead investigator on the case and would pursue tips until he died, called it the worst killing he'd ever seen. The county coroner, Samuel Gerber, who had worked on Cleveland's grisly torso murders in the 1930s, said it was as vicious a crime as he had seen in his 29 years as a coroner. Beverly, apparently surprised while changing clothes, had been strangled with a rope and stabbed 42 times. Her clothing was yanked away from her torso, but she was not sexually assaulted. Gerber ruled strangulation as the cause of death, but said the knife wounds would have been enough to kill her. The person came with 2 weapons, said documentary filmmaker Mark Wadestone. Unless you're planning, I don't know why you'd have 2. Somebody was stalking her, Miles said. The mysterious stalker. Beverly's mother, Eleanor, and sister Carol recalled the stalking during a recent interview at Carol's home in Northeast Ohio. Also present at the interview were Stone, author James Biddle, and private investigator Floyd Conant. Both women remembered hang-up calls, sometimes 10 or 12 a day on the family's party line phone before the murder. They remembered the anonymous gift of a bracelet and ring left on the back porch. To Bev. Carol said her father came home one night, saw someone on the lawn staring up at the girl's bedroom, chased him down the block but didn't catch him. Bev became jumpy, always careful to lock the doors and draw the blinds. She checked in by phone whenever she went somewhere, and she bought a brass letter opener that she kept handy for protection. I have it somewhere, Carol said. There was not one person I could suggest who might have done it to her, Eleanor said. I couldn't help the detectives in any way. I always thought it was a stalker. From about the time her daughter turned 16, she said, I had a premonition. Every time I looked at Beverly, I was concerned about her. I thought something was going to happen to her body. The only premonition I ever had. The girls' grandmother might have felt it too, Carol said. When Margie called her, wondering where Beverly was, Grandma said, Oh my God, she's dead. Detectives decided Beverly must have known her killer. She would not have left the door unlocked or admitted anyone she didn't know. There was no sign of forced entry or a scuffle on the first floor. Investigators scoured the neighborhood from rooftops to sewers, draining a nearby skating pond in the search for evidence. More than a dozen people were interviewed almost immediately in an investigation that initially focused on friends and acquaintances. By the second day, more than 130 people had been interviewed. Then the net widened. The Cleveland Press offered a $5,000 reward that soon raised to $10,000 at a time when the average annual household income was $6,000. Every woman who was pissed off at her husband, boyfriend, whatever they called, Miles said. One day's banner headline read, Suspects arrest near, brought the next day's report. All suspects questioned yesterday were cleared of any involvement, it read. Heaviest suspicion fell on 4 young men, the boyfriend, as he came to be called, who was a conservative college student, the ex-boyfriend, who would have been considered a greaser in the teen circles of the time, a college student neighbor who had an eye for Beverly, and a young door-to-door salesman with a record of assaulting women, because none was ever charged. They are not named here. One alternately confessed and denied involvement. Police discounted the confession. All were fingerprinted and given lie detector tests. All had alibis. Horrigan, the lead investigator, focused on one. In 1989, 25 years later, he said, I had who I was convinced was the killer the second day after the murder, but I couldn't get enough evidence to prosecute him. The detective called him yearly on the anniversary of the murder, until the man started calling Horrigan first. Horrigan died in 2004 at age 93. Current Garfield Heights Police Chief Robert Sackett, who became interested in the case almost 15 years ago, talked to him before his knowledge of the case was gone. Sackett and Detective Carl Bugatti decided to take another look at the case 10 years ago, re-interviewing people and using tools not available in 1964, especially DNA testing. The technology has advanced so much since then that they continue the work. We have some things in the lab now, Sackett said. We've been disappointed before with DNA evidence, but even a weak sample would be better than none. We think it's somebody that knew her. We do not have a prime suspect. Police in the original investigation focused on a handful of individuals, he said, and most of the names are the same names today. All are now in their 60s or 70s. Eleanor Jaros is vibrant and clear-eyed at 88. She still has the suspicion that somebody 50 years ago destroyed information to help the killer. She carried the grief by herself after her daughter's murder, barely sharing it even with her husband. I don't think I ever talked about it to him. It was so painful, we never discussed it, she said. We didn't mention her name, daughter Carol said. It was there under the surface, always. The family stayed with Eleanor's parents in the days after the murder. as investigators and newspaper and TV photographers and reporters trooped their house. Relatives scoured the blood from the floor before the family returned. A parish priest blessed the home room by room, affixing a medal that still remains above an entry door. Eleanor never felt afraid in the house. Carol did, especially at night. She eventually returned to her old room, but it always bothered her. As a high school freshman, she entered the convent at Marymount into the Sisters of St. Joseph of the Third Order of St. Francis, living there for 2 years. She thought she might become a nun. She said, "I think every Catholic girl did that back then," but is sure she was reacting to the murder. "I was happy when she went to the convent," Eleanor said. "I thought she was going to be safe there." So great was the concern, Carol said, "I was never left alone after this happened until the day I was married." Now a grandmother with 4 grown children, all professionals, she seldom shares her history. Ted Jaros, who died in 2012, stayed alone in the family house for almost 30 years after he and his wife divorced. He left everything as it was in 1964, down to the radio in the living room, hoping that a jury someday might need to visit. Cranks, snoops, armchair detectives, and later online commenters subjected him and others to slurs, accusations, innuendos, and even threats. "There's a lot of victims here," Miles said. Beverly's friend Barbara, who asked in an interview that her last name not be used, became a target and really takes a beating, Carol said. Harassment fell on a boy who gave Barbara a ride, the boy who drove Beverly home, and other neighbors and friends. In the days after the murder, the unrelated suicide of a Garfield Heights teenager, normally a private matter, became a front-page story. Author James Badal used dogged research and modern forensics to develop a powerfully persuasive solution to Cleveland's torso murders in the books titled In the Wake of the Butcher and Through Murder Has No Tongue. He examined similar killings in Pennsylvania, in Hell's Wasteland, and chronicled another unsolved crime in Cleveland in Twilight of Innocence, the disappearance of Beverly Potts. He felt literally called to look into the Jaros murder 2 years ago when a friend of the family asked if he would. He felt Stone, who became his true crime collaborator, making companion documentaries seen on public television and released on DVD, joined him in a team with investigator Floyd Conant, a security consultant and former state trooper. Badal has become an encyclopedic guide to the case while researching his book. The 3 have reenacted the crime, an exercise they found useful in eliminating suspects, and worked with official investigators to re-examine evidence and uncover overlooked or hidden details. A related mystery also grabbed Badal's attention. 7 years after the murder, while Ted and Eleanor were at a neighbor's funeral, the Jaros home was broken into. All that was taken was a gold watch, but the backing had been torn from 2 prints hanging on the wall, reproductions of famous 18th century English portraits, the Blue Boy and Pinky, that were favorites of Beverly, framed for her by her father. It was as if someone was looking for something, Badal said. Conant grew up near the Jaros house in the same parish and remembers being questioned by police as a teenager, walking home in the hours after the crime. His father was one of Chief Sackett's teachers at Garfield Heights High. Sackett, 6 at the time of the murder, lived about a mile away. Miles has personal connections too. "I'm Polish from Garfield Heights. My mother went to school with Ted Jaros," he said. Miles has read more than 700 police reports on the case. He shakes his head at the timing that enabled the killer to arrive and escape unseen. "And there's something bigger," he said. "I'm very confident that something specific happened on the 27th of December that's going to absolutely affect solving the 28th. Absolutely, there's a possibility it can be solved. We're being proactive in trying to solve it. I can't get into specifics because there's stuff that I know that only the killer would know. The killer and me, and I'm not giving that up. And it's good stuff." Eleanor Jaros does not have much hope her daughter's murder will be solved. "In all these 50 years," she added, "I've only had one dream about Beverly. I think of her every day. Carol does dream about her sister, but not a lot. It's always that I find her and then I lose her in a crowd. My last dream was weird. I dreamt we were at my old house, and we were washing the car. My grandson was there in the garage, but Beverly was 16. I saw this threatening man coming towards her. I looked at her and I looked at my grandson and said, I have to make a decision. Who do I go to? I went to my grandson and picked him up, and then somebody took her away. It's always that I find her and I lose her. She's gone. That's a really sad story, but that wraps up our true crime segment for today. It does seem our episode is going to go a little over an hour. That's okay. We're
totally fun.
We're just trying to keep it under like an hour and 10 minutes because we know
fingers crossed
it gets a little repetitive at times. So, the tea for today comes from my first year of college experience at a Christian college. And that for me was particularly interesting. It was a school in which I kind of just decided on it at the very last minute. Like, I didn't really have, I wanted to go to a different school, but I ended up not applying to that school or not going to another school that I was looking into. So I ended up going to this school. It was a very small school. It had about 4 dorm buildings. It didn't have very many buildings on the campus for classes.
It very much surprised me that you picked that school.
Oh, it very much surprised me.
And the thing is, especially learning it was a Christian college, I was like,
right. Yeah, so at this school, we actually had to go to church, like, I think it was twice a week. I don't even remember because I didn't go there the year after. There was a lot of crazy things that happened at that school, though. One thing that happened was they actually segregated the black and white students into a meeting, and I realized that was my cue to go. I was not about that.
Bye-bye, sayonara.
It was definitely not for me. Another thing, though, that happened at this school, which is the main focus of our tea today, is there was this particular person
can't
who
name
will
any
not be
names
named
or anything,
because we know that ends up being an issue.
They
actually
we have to use they.
This person was really just not a good person. They did many sketchy things that they just got to slip by on. No repercussions came out of it. They actually just were able to keep doing the things they were doing because they sucked up, like many people do that get away with things they want to get away with.
Whew, we can't even go down that list. Let's keep on topic, Trent.
Okay. So, this person, actually drugged my friend. Let's just start it off straight.
Very strong.
So they went on this trip. It was a fall break trip. It was this person and about 4 other friends. So on this trip, they went to a beach. They were having a good time. They were all of age, so drinking was involved. One night they went to this bar. It seemed like they were having a good time, and everything was fine and dandy until this particular person, crazy, like they are so crazy, ended up going into the bathroom and snorting coke from a random man in the bathroom. And then they proceeded to take this cocaine and put it into my friend's drink. And
I would
literally drug them. And this was all of the intent, I guess, to get this person to be unresponsive. I don't really know what happened from there, but my guess it was they had an ulterior motive to
probably
do something sexually or
just some
maniacally,
people, well,
whatever
and
the word
some
you
people
want to use as.
Some people do get off on like
seeing another
person struggle and seeing someone who is not typically under the influence or has never been under the influence, seeing them under the influence for the first time. Like, I've never drank and I have never done any kind of drugs or anything like that.
Right.
But I have had friends in the past, and I actually had an ex-boyfriend who his friends, like one of his friends thought it would be hilarious to see me drunk because I don't drink. And he knew I didn't drink then, I don't drink now. And he was like, I think it would be hilarious to see your girlfriend with either, like, you know, smoking weed or drunk or whatever. And I'm like, why?
It's the type of thing that it's not okay. When you know somebody would never get into anything like that, and then you go behind their back and literally drug them, you are
the problem.
You're a problem. You are a nasty individual, like so many nasty individuals I have known. Not only that, one night there was a cast party at this person's house. I was invited. I thought it was going to be just a fine dandy time. I didn't care if there were drinks involved. I just particularly was not going to drink because I didn't know any of these people. I was a freshman. This particular person was a senior. So, they were way older than me.
Exactly. And was this after the whole drugged your friend thing?
Yes, this was after.
So you went to this. I wouldn't drink either if I knew that somebody drugged my friend and they were having the party. I would not touch a drink.
I know. So I actually went, and at this party, it was all fine and dandy at first. There was music playing. Everybody was having a nice conversation. It was fine. Until this particular person comes up and offers me a pill in which I had no idea what it was. All the information that this person gave me was, it's going to make you feel euphoric. It's going to make you feel so good. What kind of person comes up to somebody and offers them a pill, doesn't say what it is, and also, even if it is a prescription, you don't give your prescription out to somebody else. It was just very much weird behavior. Like, this person has a history of wanting to see people struggle under the influence,
fail,
just be at their worst points, because I think it was really a power thing and wanting to make fun of people, really, and just have a sense of being better than them. Because not only that, but this person liked to argue with me over TikTok because I would point out things that they were doing that weren't right. Obviously, you can tell this person was screwed up in the head. Like, they were trying to drug people. They did drug people. And they would just argue with me. And it's like, you are so much older than me. Just shut up. Not only that, but there was a rumor started about me by this person that I sing flat, which I know was not true because my vocal coach was even telling me, like, it was fine. And not only that, but like, this person literally was, I'm sorry, but one of the least talented people in this entire group. So for them to even have an opinion on me was crazy. And they always had an opinion about other people too. And it was super weird because I don't know. Another issue I had with them was they would always complain about whoever they were with at the time, even though they had a different man every other week.
Oh, I cannot stand people like that. I can't
stand people like that either, and I know people have mixed feelings on that. Some people think, like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Realistically, there is a problem with that. Because if you're switching men more than you're switching your underwear, there is a direct problem. You need therapy.
Oh my gosh, I love the way you worded that, but it really is true. I circling back to I had dated somebody whose friend wanted to see me drunk or high or whatever. That same person that I dated, same friend, had made comments. The same friend was one that would date around, and at one point we went over to his house because he had some kind of small little party thing, and we went, and there was 4 girls there, and they were all trying to hit on him, and this dude was not good looking. It was not like he was attractive and that's why. And these girls would hit on him and his friends, so you never really knew what girl was what with what guy. And then I'm over here you stay next to me, you are my boyfriend. So I've never understood people like that. How do you go from I'm sorry. This also may be the innocent little me of Well,
yeah, but you've also experienced different things like that. And this person, we literally had a meeting with our head professor of the department, in which we told him everything that was going on. We told him about the drugging, about trying to drug me, about just everything that ever happened with this individual. basically he said for us to just ignore this individual and to just leave it at that.
Kidding?
Did absolutely nothing about it. And this professor wasn't even, what's the word? In our lives. Like, he acted like he cared, but he didn't really. He was not involved.
He was not at all.
Whatsoever.
Okay.
And it really just sucked for me. It sucked for everybody in the program.
Yes.
No matter what, I feel like any group I've ever been in,
there's been drama.
There's been drama. The head of the group just doesn't care and is just a complete asshole. And it's just terrible. Like, no matter what, it's not fun. And
it's really not.
I'm glad to be out of there. I'm glad to be away from that, because not only that, but there was another person that also liked to sexually assault women on the campus while they actually had a girlfriend in a different country. This was literally
telling me
was a foreign exchange student that
yes.
And when we reported this student, nothing was done about it. We got told also the same thing, to just ignore it. How do you get a sexual harassment, sexual assault case brought to you and you just ignore it? This school had many secrets, many things to hide, and that is another reason I couldn't deal with it anymore. And I'm glad I'm out of there.
I remember you telling me about that when it happened.
Oh, yeah.
And you would because I went to visit Trenton at this school, and I was like, hey, babe. And he was like, you see that person there? That person's got this problem. And that person there, that person's this problem. This person here, this person's got this going on. And I was like, oh, I'm in on the tea and I don't even go here. Thank you.
Right.
But, we have gone a little bit over.
We have gone a little bit over.
Is our conclusion. But I do want to end our...
Other conclusion I want to say is the coffee at that school, nothing made me want to go to the bathroom more than that. 25 seconds after drinking that coffee, immediately I'm on the toilet. I'm sorry. I'm going to let Trinity continue.
I knew that you were going to say something about the coffee.
I'm sorry. If your coffee, Trinity likes her coffee this way too. If your coffee is more sugar than it is coffee, there's an issue here.
But it's so good. Anyway, so I do want to end this on a kind of positive note. So I mentioned last week that I had gotten concert tickets from a friend who I got the pre-sale code, sent everything to my friend. She ended up getting the tickets. Well, my friend Alyssa bought... Hi, Alyssa. I know you're listening. Alyssa. She sent me a message and she was like, you didn't mention it was me. And I was like, I love you. I will mention it was you. But my friend Alyssa got us tickets to go see Zach Bryan for next summer. And then the sweetest thing, bought us 2 tickets. And then some other people wanted to go. So she went in and bought more tickets and paid so much more.
So much money.
I'm telling you, she spent more money than I would be willing to spend on a concert ticket other than possibly Taylor Swift. But Zach Bryan, I was about to spend money I don't have on Zach Bryan. But anyway, she got us tickets and will not let me pay her back. I have offered, I have tried to meet up with her to give it to her. She won't take my money. So we're vibing with Zach Bryan, but I just wanted to say thank you to Alyssa and just shout out that she did it. Also, there will be some tea next week. My tea will be next week because I've got some tea.
Take over on the tea. We try to do less of our segments and more tea because we know you guys like that.
Next week, I will just have one book to talk about, so it shouldn't take me too long. But I will say, next week, you will get a lot of my tea. I have not decided fully yet on what I'm willing to disclose and not, but Trenton's going to help me with that one. So we're gonna vent it out and see what we can and can't talk about. So get ready for the tea, because some of it does involve Alyssa, and she was so gracious to tell me that I can include her name in some of this. So it might include her if I pick the right tea. You'll never know until you tune in next week.
And really quick, before we end this off, Trinity just talked about her Zach Bryan tickets.
Yes.
Today is actually October 4th. You guys will be seeing this on October 11th. But 2 months from today, October 4th, I will be seeing Doja Cat with one of my very best friends on the Scarlet Tour. I'm absolutely so excited. Ice Spice is opening. I think it's going to be a great concert.
I don't know how I feel about Ice Spice after her verse on Taylor Swift.
Oh my gosh. We'll have to get into that another time. I'm sorry. Karma with Ice Spice. No, it didn't hit.
It did not hit.
that is something for another day. This has been another amazing episode of Double the Tea with Trenton
and Trinity.
We love you guys so much. Make sure to leave us 5 stars. Give us suggestions. Follow the podcast page at double.the.t_podcast
and
for any updates and information on new episodes.
And do not ever be afraid to reach out to either one of us with any ideas. If you have a book you want me to read and review, tell me.
If you have a true crime story you want me to talk about, tell me. Any pop culture thing.
We've already got Ted Bundy in the works because of my friend.
We
have a request for Ted Bundy, so we have that in the works. But this has been Double the Tea.
We love you guys so much.
So much. Thank you so much for listening.
See
you
later.